On the last episode of The Sparrow Files, we highlighted how others are frequently banned from Kamran's Patreon. They are not allowed to question the Sparrow narrative. We revealed an ongoing feud between Kamran and the channels WDW Pro and Valiant Renegade. They are channels that Kamran absolutely despises. He has slandered them, suggesting they work with Pablo Hidalgo. He accused them of stealing scoops. He even tried to dox WDW Pro. When Kamran bans people from his Patreon, most let it go. But Kamran Pasha didn't count on the Viper. The Viper is a man with nothing to lose. The Viper is out for vengeance. This is his story. I'm Darth Melvin, leader of the Knights of Melvin, and this is The Sparrow Files. So let's go through your experience in the server.
Good morning, gentlemen. The temperature is 110 degrees. First, I responded to a post Kamran made about a second season of Ahsoka.
Ahsoka is number 5 in Nielsen's top 10 streaming original programs. Oh yeah, Nielsen's, woo! Nielsen's has released its top 10 list for streaming for the week of August 28th through September 3rd, and the first 3 episodes of Ahsoka came in at number 5 in streaming original programs with 487 million minutes watched. Looks like this was the data that made Disney decide a second season is a good idea. Oh yeah, Nielsen's. Alright guys, up high, down low, on the side, Sparrow. Special thanks to Stephanie Janicek for the heads up.
I'm not interested in a second season. There were so many sequel trilogy references. Clearly, these fools are determined to lose money.
I didn't really catch any sequel trilogy references. Can you share what you saw?
Senator Ziano is in Dave Filoni's animated show, Star Wars Resistance. That takes place during the sequels. Ezra asked if the Emperor died. Sabine, that's what people say. Filoni is setting up Palpatine's return in Episode 9.
That character can go a different direction if the timeline is changed, and that's what people say is pretty normal. Nobody saw the Emperor die except for Luke and Vader. There are people today that still believe Adolf Hitler did not die in the Berlin bunker. The Russians did tests on the skull and they had supposedly belonged to Hitler, and it turned out to be a woman. So that is normal speculation at the end of a war.
This man immediately lied in his first response. A Star Wars Resistance reference is more than enough evidence of the sequels. That's just in Ahsoka alone. We're not even talking about the sequel trilogy references in The Mandalorian. Wishful thinking. They're doubling down on their trilogy. They literally announced a Rey movie. Kamran then spoke down to me, called me a newcomer. I must be ignorant to the Rey movie being cancelled. He provided a link to his post. I took a look at his post. I, unlike Kamran, am open to discussion. Really not anything there. The script isn't written. Then there was the writer's strike. They changed writers. That is consistent with their dysfunctional ways. Nothing new. Rey is already prominent in Galaxy's Edge and was in their Star Wars hotel. They definitely are not shy about continuing her story. It's always been the plan to fix the sequels with the TV shows. What could possibly be the incentive to announce a fake movie?
The incentive is very clear. Kathleen Kennedy was attempting to force Bob Iger to greenlight projects he had said no to by announcing them in the trades, a tactic she has used for years, especially with the similarly fake Acolyte show. I urge you to look back over this Patreon, as I have been writing about the twists and turns of Kennedy's hidden war with Iger for over a year. She has essentially been defeated and is no longer allowed in the office, according to my source, Sparrow, who works inside Disney Lucasfilm, and her Rey project has been long dead. Also, Stephen Knight, the alleged writer of the fake Rey movie, is a UK writer, not WGA member, and thus has not been on strike. Yet no script for this movie has been delivered or discussed in months. Of course, you don't have to believe me, but if you believe my Sparrow source is fake or lying, I don't think this Patreon will be much value to you.
Straight from the Writers Guild UK website. We understand that these are difficult times and that many writers are in need of work, but we are advising our members not to work on projects in the jurisdiction for the WGA for the duration of the strike. The movie has been delayed. Stephen Knight hasn't been working on the script, but now that the strikes are over, he's going to resume.
He even then called me out for not believing Sparrow. I was just a man asking questions, having a discussion. He already wanted to ban me. Again, I read through his posts. What projects has she been pushing? Why would the Acolyte be fake? Essentially been defeated. They must have liked what she did with the sequel trilogy because they extended her contract. In 2021, they could have just let it expire and she'd retain some dignity. They wanted to keep her around. What changed in the last 2 years?
Like I said, you should read my reports over the past year, as you seem you have no idea what I've been saying on these topics for months. I will give you a few starters, but I can't really go over a year of reporting to catch you up, so here are just a few posts to look at. And again, if you think my sources are lying, then I am unsure what value this Patreon provides.
I was giving Kamran every chance to defend himself. I became very annoyed when he used Doomcock as a reference, someone I knew to be a liar. You're using Doomcock to verify your claims. Doomcock has famously been wrong about Kathleen Kennedy being fired. He's clearly rinsing and repeating at this point. These posts are speculation, little info. The last link has another Doomcock video verifying your news from Sparrow. You'll need a more credible source than him to convince me Leslie Headland was fired. I insulted Doomcock and his credibility. That's when Kamran lost it. He banned me like a coward.
I don't need to convince you of anything, Viper. This is my Patreon and my home. Since you are clearly implying that my sources working inside Lucasfilm are not real or credible, thus suggesting I'm a liar, you don't need to be on this Patreon. The house rules I share with every new subscriber are clear. People questioning my personal integrity are not something I need in my own home. There are many YouTube channels that call Sparrow liars. You will be happier posting in the comments there. Goodbye.
Then it was nothing but darkness. My membership was terminated. I wasn't going to let this stand. Knowing that a ban was coming, I quickly reviewed all of the posts in his Patreon. I found his email address. Discussing your SJW behavior. Good morning, Mr. Pasha. The temperature is 110 degrees. I would like to discuss why I was banned from your Patreon. What was it about my responses that angered you to the point of silencing me like an SJW? Movies beyond the sequel trilogy are happening. You provided little evidence in your posts to back up your claims about the sequels, Kathleen Kennedy, The Acolyte. I'm just a man asking questions. You behaved like a paranoid child. On the very first response, you were clearly upset. You even said this Patreon probably isn't for me. Why do you not allow simple discussion on your Patreon? I was not being hostile or disrespectful in any way. I told you I didn't trust Doomcock's sources on Kathleen Kennedy. He said she was going to get fired for 2 years, and it didn't happen. Why should I trust his sources on her again? But you didn't want your Patreon members to see me speak out against him. Why is that? Is your Patreon nothing but a cult? This is how it's going to go down. You reinstate my membership on your Patreon. Then perhaps real discussion can take place. Or I become a nightmare. When you go to sleep, you'll always be thinking about Viper. I will tell the world what happened in your Patreon. I will tell the world how you are a spineless con artist SJW. Kamran, I hope we can put all this past us. We'll see what kind of man you really are. I warn you not to underestimate the Viper. I may or may not have my own sources within Lucasfilm.
And Kamran didn't respond to you.
No, he's a spineless coward. He posted the email in his Patreon.
I get a threat from a band member and he slipped up. Last night I banned Viper, a new member who signed up a couple of days ago. The person immediately began questioning my sources and integrity and the recent Ahsoka thread. I decided I didn't need this character in my life or on this Patreon, so I banned him. And this morning, he sent a threatening message to my personal email, but I never gave him that email, proving that he is one of the blobs who attacked me in the past, with whom I have cut off my prior relationship. Those gentlemen had my personal email.
The truth is, he couldn't handle the reality that the Viper was real. He tried to blame the black pill blobs he regularly cries about. I found his personal email on an old Patreon post.
That's what happens when you sit behind a desk. You forget things.
No one should underestimate the Viper.
I shared the email below to show you how deranged and desperate they have become. I moved on past them, and I very much appreciate how people on this Patreon have not brought up their names and shenanigans in the past few weeks. They can't handle being ignored, and they certainly can't handle that my career continues to move forward while they lose subscribers. I don't want to give them the air they desperately crave, but I thought you should all be aware of this recent development, as it shows these people and their minions are mentally ill and unhinged. Here's the email sent from a dummy account.
He proceeded to dox my email address, something he's all too familiar with. But that's okay. I welcome the heat. I live in it.
The delusions of the blobs run deep. These folks seem to confuse discussion with the blanket statements of their black pill idols.
I'm a supervillain and I shall use my powers of supervillain to force myself into a Patreon community. What the fuck has to be Blob number 1? It sounds like him, and it's so delusional. This scares me, but Blob number 1 is rather psychotic enough to be scary. Need me to do anything?
Do nothing. They are unworthy of our attention.
I get it.
The fact that he named himself after an animal that eats birds, he even goes out of his way to state as much, leads me to believe he thought he was being clever by making himself out to be a superior source that cares little for Cameron's Avery, if you will.
Bingo, Star Killer! This idiot unmasked himself with this stupid username.
What a creep. That is some really personally threatening stuff, and that is independent of the fact that he's kind of in factual fantasy land. I'm living testimony that diversity of opinion is welcome here. You gotta be a pretty big jerk to get tossed.
And you are a wonderful, valued member of this Patreon.
I have a pretty good idea who it might be, just based on the speech pattern in the text. Why does this person care so much about what you are saying to a relatively small community of people? This is not a competition, and you don't have a YouTube channel taking away clicks from them. This is not only juvenile, it's psychotic. Watch your back, my friend. This one is crazy enough to come find you.
Yes, this person is clearly psychotic. If they made the mistake to seek me out in person, well, it would be the last mistake they make. I follow a simple code. I don't make threats, I don't give a warning, I just pull the trigger. Sparrow, 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 Sparrow!
What do you think of that, Viper? He threatened to shoot you.
No, I am not interested in finding him on the street. I have something else in mind.
What is that, Viper?
I offer a challenge to Kamran Pasha. Meet me in the mountains of Vietnam, where we will battle with nunchucks. Only one person will leave. We'll see what kind of man Kamran is.
What's the significance of the nunchucks?
Only Kamran will know when he chooses to face me.
After Kamran Pasha is defeated, what would you do?
After the Viper prevails over the Sparrow, I will finally be able to have peace. Peace with what happened to my family. Peace with what happened to Star Wars. I can finally turn the heat down, and I'll live the rest of my days rewatching George Lucas's movies, spreading awareness. Perhaps I'll start a channel. After Cameron's defeat, Viper will be reborn.
Viper was banned from Cameron's Patreon. Not long after, he reached out to me and revealed all the secrets of the Sparrow Files. 2 months later, the first episode was released. Kamran Pasha's entire operation was being exposed. But was he aware of it? After the release of the second episode, we got an answer.
I've been unmasked as a Disney shill apparently. I received an unsubscribe notification from someone who apparently saw a video proving that I am a Disney shill from some YouTuber named Knights of Melvin. Their kind message to me. I forgot I was subbed and I saw Kamran Pasha as a Disney shill, the Sparrow Files, and I realized how dumb I was for believing this grift. Considering that I send out articles nearly daily with notifications, I am not sure how this person forgot they were subscribed to this Patreon. Also, I really wish this grip paid better than $0. It would have made getting through the strike a whole lot easier. But my friends, the painful truth has come out at long last. I, Kamran Pasha, was fired by Disney in 2010 from the Tron Uprising series for not going along with my boss's mismanagement of the show. Have found redemption with Bob Iger is a shield for Disney because Knights of Melvin has proved it. So let it be written, so let it be done. Moving forward, we will add Knights of Mediocrity to the Dunning-Kruger brothers and other blob grifters in the unworthy of our attention file. My apologies to all for the drama.
Kamran Pasha was so mad. I, Darth Melvin, leader of the Knights of Melvin, was now a blob. I was being added to the Dunning-Kruger brothers.
Patreon C member who has been a loyal supporter since February 2022 rightfully said that I should not have given this character attention, which is what he wanted. Artists tend to have fragile egos and get easily riled up, so that's my bad.
But there was no official update. Very quickly after posting, Kamran Pasha deleted the post about the Knights of Melvin. But why would Kamran Pasha do that? He must have taken a look at the Sparrow Files and realized
it was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
The last thing he needs is his patrons getting red-pilled by the Sparrow Files. The videos that expose all the lies in his Patreon. Kamran would continue to privately view the Sparrow Files, witnessing his demise. The anger built. The pressure to change his narrative grew. A couple weeks later, he snapped.
Latest info on the Acolyte, and why this may be my last post on this topic. So I just got off the bat phone and honestly reeling. I spoke with at length at what they have been able to uncover regarding the Acolyte. And it required a lot of digging. We have now been able to piece together exactly what is happening and who is behind the financing and why this project won't die and why the trades are afraid to look into it and why none of it makes any sense. And for reasons of personal safety, I cannot and will not share everything. I've just been told, yes, it's that bad. Let me tell you what I am at liberty to share. Once Jon Favreau secured control of Lucasfilm, he was read into what is really happening with the Acolyte, and he was put in an impossible bind just as I am. He was able to track down the source of financing that Leslie Headland secured. Suffice to say, the money is coming from the United Kingdom, which is why the show is filming there, and it is not from Lucasfilm accounts. Favreau was then shown the footage that Headland managed to put together before she was thrown out of Lucasfilm, as Sparrow said. He hates it, hates it, hates it. Here's a direct quote from John. This is the worst fan film I have ever seen. The money that was secured from the UK source was not enough to make anything look good. Everything looked so cheap, Sparrow indicated. John wanted to completely trash the project, but he faced a twofold problem. One, the nature of the funding source put him in a precarious position. Literally, these are people you don't want to cross. And secondly, some idiot on Bob Iger's team thinks that all PR is good PR, and the fact that the Acolyte has gotten so much attention, albeit most of it bad, means that they should release something to satisfy public expectations. However, Sparrow thinks if they ultimately release any version of the show as it exists today, it would be the final arrow in Nelson Peltz's quiver against Iger, giving the investor essentially the one-shot, one-kill to take down the Disney CEO for mismanagement. Favreau understands the dangerous politics involved here, and so he agreed to throw a little bit of money to do some reshoots and see if anything could be salvaged. But the dailies from the Acolyte reshoots are in, and they are still terrible. It's Sparrow says it has become a self-fulfilled prophecy of suck. No one wants their name attached to this. So Jon Favreau is now trapped. If he puts this garbage out, the fan reaction will be so bad that it will unravel his efforts to rebuild Star Wars. If he doesn't put it out, he is dealing with the scary proposition of war with idiots on Iger's team. And even worse, with Hedlund's backers. I'm going to be extremely careful what I say in order to give you some context. I've reported for some time that Hedlund appears to have secured financing for the show from people she connected with through her mentor, Harvey Weinstein. But now it has become clear that the shady characters she is dealing with are way above Weinstein's pay grade. We are talking about people involved at the Epstein level. Once Sparrow told me who these people are and who they are protecting by paying her off, it became clear that further exploration of the dark secrets of the Acolyte is not in either of our interests. I will repost a thread that I wrote about the strange connections between an actor involved in the Acolyte and certain intelligence agencies. It sounded like outlandish speculation at the time. Let's just say I hit closer to the mark than I am now comfortable with. All I can say, I now understand why Sparrow said that whenever they tried to ask about the Acolyte, people at the office became afraid. So I'm going to take a break from further investigation into the Acolyte. Sparrow still thinks it will never see the light of day. If it does, it will likely destroy everything Jon Favreau has been trying to do for years. In any event, Leslie Hedlund got everybody involved in something that is too big to process, and I am stepping away from it at this time.
Call me. I'm not afraid. We want this thing dead. We want it on its back. Legs in the air. Tits up. Let's kill it. Give me the Sparrow.
I'm not going to get myself killed over this stupid show!
I cannot believe something like this has people afraid for their lives.
But I urge my friends among the Dunning-Kruger brothers and their investigative reporters to dig deep. Go for it, guys. This is the scoop of a lifetime. I am cheering you on.
Kamran sadistically suggested that the Blobs look into this because it would result in their death.
They may very well mock me, and that's okay. These guys have no idea what they are dealing with here. It's their moron investigator snoops around the wrong place trying to find stuff to use against me and find some document that accidentally points in the right direction. They'll end up like those poor CIA analysts in 3 Days of the Condor who stumbled onto a black op and were handled by the agency. Perhaps a fitting end for people too stupid to understand how the world really works at this level.
Now, we all know Kamran is a coward. I think it's very unlikely he travels to the mountains of Vietnam to face you.
Oh, he'll face me. This is just the beginning of his torment. The Sparrow Files have only begun to expose him for the weak and spineless, Barbie-enthused man he is.
You have more plans for Kamran?
I will haunt his dreams. Every time he goes to sleep, he risks facing the Viper. Every time he logs on to Patreon, communicates with his patrons, he'll always wonder if he's speaking to the Viper. Every time he streams, he'll have to worry about Viper crashing it. He may be too much of a coward now to accept my challenge, but after months, years of being tortured by the Viper, he'll want a way out. He will travel to the mountains of Vietnam, hoping to end the madness. He will accept his fate. Sparrow will die, and Viper will live.
Well, Viper, that sounds like a very good plan. I hope it works out for you. Thank you for bringing this evidence to light. Without your devotion to George Lucas Star Wars, there would be no Sparrow Files. Kamran Pasha, aka Sparrow Boy, has been exposed. Kamran made up a fake inside source at Lucasfilm. He constantly uses this fake source to lie to his Patreon members. We first exposed Kamran Pasha for being a Disney shill. He doesn't want Disney Star Wars to fail, he wants it to do better. He is insanely triggered by Disney Star Wars black pills, those who think there is no hope for Disney Star Wars. We took a look at some major red flags, ridiculous posts that anyone with a normal working brain should have been able to identify as bullshit. We dived into Kamran's lies and inconsistencies surrounding Kathleen Kennedy, the Acolyte, the Rey movie. The Sparrow agenda was heavily pushed on the channel Overlord DVD, allowing Kamran to maximize his grift. We exposed how Kamran villainizes anyone that simply disagrees with him. He is very quick to ban those like Viper who just wanted a simple discussion. This concludes our series. The lies of Sparrow needed to be exposed. I thank Viper for helping to bring this information to light. The series is over for now, but we can never rule out the possibilities of another episode. As we close this arc, more questions still remain. Is Doomcock turning on Kamran Pasha, abandoning the Sparrow operation he pushed on his channel? Are there other content creators helping to push Sparrow? Who is Kamran's new Marvel source, Phoenix?
His headquarters.
Of the Order of the Phoenix.
How is Kamran going to spin his stories when the Acolyte and Rey movie are released? How will Kamran face the backlash from this series? And is Kamran Pasha destined for an epic showdown with the Viper? I'm Darth Melvin, leader of the Knights of Melvin, and this is the Sparrow Files.